excited to have a full house here. And I promise you that this will be a fruitful hour, because when you leave today, you're going to leave with at least the framework and start of about 50 topics that you can use Evergreen to write content. And I'm going to particularly speak about LinkedIn, because that's my area of passion and really one of my core areas of expertise. But you can take this and apply this across all sorts of different types of content. Everybody should know we're here. We're going to talk about unlocking your content knowledge and crafting a year's worth of content. And we're going to do it within the next hour. So content is king. Has anybody ever heard that?
Yeah.
That's right. Or is it? I like to question that, because in the world of social networking, content is undoubtedly still viewed as king. However, in truth, it's simply a conduit to conversations. For me, conversations are king, because conversations are the lifeblood of our business. It's what moves us from connections into conversations and ultimately cash, right? So while content wears the crown, conversation wields the power to build connection. But content creation is one of those kind of things where you feel like you're stuck in the headlights, right? Well, creating content often elicits that feeling. How many of you here or online get that like holy crap feeling, like, oh my God, I have to write something, I don't know what to write about, right? Yeah, well, me too. I was like that for many, many years. And even though I do this all the time, I refer to my own content map, but we have content within us. We are full of content because we are all experts in our area. We could sit down at a table and have a conversation and talk about what we do for hours, right? Of course, you know your stuff. So, as an expert in your specific category, it will be effortless for you to create content because you already have that knowledge. So, let's get right into it. So, most of you, I gave, if you have it, a worksheet. You don't have to do the worksheet. I give it because it's a good foundation to get started. And we're going to literally work through this step by step to start to build out your framework for 50 pieces of content. And then I'm going to show you very briefly how to move that content into 7 days, how to write each content area 7 different ways. So if you think about 50 times 7, that's 350. So that's fundamentally almost a year's worth of content, and that's including weekends. Okay. So content mapping, that's what I refer to. It's, we understand what it is to map something out. And it's really about going from point A to point B. It's a systematic approach. It's very simple. And we're going to outline all of the various steps that we take from point A to B. The fact of this is, however, is that we already know what this is. Most of our clients or our customers come to us for a specific reason, right? Somebody's calling me. I told them not to. So they come to us with a specific ask, right? We also know that when we are helping our clients, we all have a particular approach that we follow. If you think about it, if I came to you to do something, Jonathan, you know what your job is and the steps you would take in order to help get me to point B, right? Interestingly, also, systematically speaking, from data, most things take between 6 and 8 steps to get from point A to point B. And you'll see this develop as you start this process. Okay, so step A is the ask. So everybody on your worksheet, we're going to answer the first question is, what is it that your client or your customer comes to you for? So as an example, for me, as a LinkedIn subject expert, my clients come to me because they want to learn how to leverage LinkedIn so that they can move their connections into conversations, right? That's why they come to you. If you happen to be a sales coach, your clients probably come to you to learn how to be a better salesperson, or maybe you're an accountant and they come to you because they want you to help manage their books, right? That all makes sense. So is there somebody here who wants to volunteer and we will define what your step A is? Anybody? We'll start with your step A and we'll go to your step B.
Okay.
So,
because this is something I have a big problem with as a service providing nonprofit. I'm we are recycling electronics for people, but we're doing it to create jobs for people with disabilities. So I'm never sure when I'm doing something like this, but what am I supposed to be putting out there?
So what you do and who you help. So what you do is utilize disposable electronics as a tool to create employment for those with disabilities. I don't know the right term there. My daughter would be about them. So that's it. So people come to you, people make donations to you to help fund and create jobs for this community. That's what they would be doing, right? They would be making donations to you, right?
So, generally not. Generally, they're paying us for the service of recycling.
Okay, so really they're coming to you to get recycling done, right?
Yes.
So that's what they're doing. They come to you for recycling. Okay. Now the outcome, which is what we will talk about in the next step, is what do they get when they're done working with you, right? We know you start here, you got to end here. So, Allie. So if you without going into depth of what your customers come to you for, what would you say is what they get after they work with you?
They have their business out in the world and they have the data to show whether people actually find it valuable.
Okay. So when they're done working with you, they have created visibility for their business and data backing up their service model, right? So in my examples that I used earlier, me as a LinkedIn subject matter expert, after my clients come to me, they want to learn how to do this. When they leave, they have received one-on-one or group training on how to create a LinkedIn profile, how to attract interest, how to create content. That's one of the steps that I do with my customers. And then how to initiate that conversation offline. If you were a sales coach, in the example I use, you would know your client would leave knowing how to ask the questions to get to the pain point to make the sale. Or if it was an accountant, again, they would get their monthly financials and P&Ls all done for them and they knew where they were fiscally. Or like, I love, if I have to pat myself on the back. In this case, if we look at the picture, you as the customer ask the wait person for what you want, right? And in the end, you get a delicious burger, right? So everyone take just one moment, if you haven't already, and write down on your first page why your clients come to you or your customers come to you and what they get when they're done working with you, okay?
So you say they get one-on-one training.
Yep.
Rather than, to me, that's like between what they want and what they get, and what they get is the results of being better at LinkedIn.
The truth of the matter is what I teach them how to get the results, but they don't get the results from me. They get the result from the work they do.
Okay.
So it's just a semantic of what I deliver.
Okay.
For the accountant, they get a P&L versus mine where it's a training.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, so just so everybody's clear, you now have two topics that you can talk about. You know how to talk about those things, right? You're familiar with them, right? Makes sense. Okay, so then what's next? Well, it's your process. So taking your client from point A to point B takes steps. You all know it. And for those of us in business, we tend to understand the concept of objective, strategies, and tactics. If we were breaking this up, this would be the strategy. Your objective is to learn how to use LinkedIn. So I'm then going to take them through my 6 or 8 strategies to get to the result, right? So in my case, if you look here, is I break it down like this. So they come to me, they want to learn. So I teach them how to create a LinkedIn search-friendly profile. That's the first step I do. The next thing I do is I teach them how to use the LinkedIn navigation bar. Sounds simple, but there's a process to it. The third thing is I teach them how to connect with second-level connections. My fourth is how to find and use hashtags, right? Or groups. The fifth thing is identifying their target. So now they've got all the foundation. Now they're into the fifth thing. 6 is what we're doing today, is that content mapping. 7 is structuring that content, and then 8 is moving them into conversations. Now, I will tell you, this happened organically. I didn't plan this out, but these are the steps that I take between point A of them coming to me and point B of them getting what they want. We do all of these things in between. So for you, and by the way, it's not always 8. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 4, but theoretically, there is something that you do from point A to point B. So Jonathan, I'm your client or your customer, and I come to you and I say, I want to get all of my computers, I'm doing a total upgrade, I want to get them recycled. Okay. So what is the process that we would do? How would I go about doing that, Jonathan?
I would definitely want to.
This is, think about the strategies.
Yeah.
These are the high level things. Well, okay. You take an accounting of all of your equipment.
Okay.
Then you bring it to our facility. Then we process it through our system. Then we take it into the warehouse. Then we give it to the people who have to unassemble it. Then we put, so think about, there are the high level things, not all of the, then you take it all apart. Right. It's one of those high level things. So does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. Anybody have some challenge with thinking about that? It's almost like new chapters of your book. If you're going to write a chapter for each of the steps that you take in your business to get your client to the end goal, what are those steps that you would take?
So the 1 through 8 are the bigger steps.
Yes.
And then the bigger steps you break down.
That's what will be the next step. Yes. Absolutely. So what is it people come to you for?
So they come to us because they have cancer and they're looking for help with side effects and emotional issues.
Okay. God bless you. My husband just finished cancer treatment. So what's the first thing, if my family had come to you, what would be the first thing that you would do with us?
Well, the first thing is the sign up online. Is that one of the steps?
So they've signed up online to have a conversation with you. So maybe you do a discovery conversation first, right?
So they sign up online. I mean, from our side, then we match them with one of our providers.
Okay. So firstly, put sign up online as your first strategy.
Okay.
The second one is matching with the right
provider. So
then
that's what we do.
Right. Then what else do you do?
And they meet,
right? So that meeting with that person is going to fall under that particular step. After they've met with the person, are there any things that you do? So after they meet with the person, so maybe you have collateral that you distribute, or maybe you do workshops, or
they fill out a release form.
Right. So that would be that's a tactic. This is the what, not the how. So what steps do you take to get them from point A to point B? So they sign up, you match them with someone. After they match, they do all these things, but you don't step out of the system. Oops, what did I do? You don't step out of the system completely. You keep them in your system, and there are other touch points, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right. So they have the session. Okay. They schedule the next one. They have 8 sessions in a row. We send them an evaluation form.
So this is a little bit more detailed. So how about you and I connect after, and I can help think through that a little deeper, okay? But for the general population, does it make sense that you have these steps that you take? Right. So if you think about this, and if you look at my math here, and this is probably the most complicated math I do because I was adding an A and a B, which is very, to me, complicated. But so you started with A, you went to B. That's 2 topics. Now you've created your 6 to 8 steps, right? So 2 plus 8 equals, I now have 10 topics that I can talk about. And you know how to talk about every single one of those steps because you follow them in your business, right? Makes sense, okay? So now I'm going to take it down to those tactics, right? So This is the how. So the last one was the what, and this is the how. How do you take them through, or what is the work that you do in each of those 8 steps that you're taking between A and B? So for me, when the first thing I do is creating a LinkedIn search-friendly profile, well, I have all of these other things that I do to teach them how to do that one thing. I talk to them about creating their banner, that big billboard. I talk to them about their headshot. I talk about the importance of a headline. I don't know if anybody was in the 5 places to be, or one of them yesterday. I talked about the importance of your headline. So I take them through these steps to learn about how to create that search-friendly LinkedIn profile. So now what I've done, I know how to talk about all of these steps. Just like you understand the little nitty-gritty bits and parts of the things that you do in your business. That becomes 8 more things that you can talk about. Because I'll tell you, I can spend a bunch of time talking about how to create a banner. I can talk to you about what not to do. I can talk to you about what works. I can talk to you about where to find creative. I can talk to you about how to create the language. Those are 4 things. And I'm just talking about creating a banner. And guess what? This is your content knowledge. It's your expertise. You know how to talk about it. People want to learn. If they're trying to get to the bottom, they want to learn how to do this stuff. So if I'm going to do my crazy math again, I was at 10. I've just added 8 more. I'm now at 18. Now wrap your head around this. If you take those 8 steps that you created to get from point A to point B, and you have 8 steps in between each of those, think about how many ideas you have to write about. And it's everything that you know, right? Yes, Samara?
And you may go into this later, but this is all for Evergreen content. Are you repurposing on these topics, or are you just simply repurposing the content that you've created for each topic?
So the topics are evergreen.
Right.
Because you can, for me, when I started talking about, creating a banner, what was relevant or valuable 4 years ago might not be relevant or as valuable today. So I can still talk about it, but the content is new. You still have your knowledge. How you present it, which we're going to talk about in a moment, can change. Even like I said with the banner, where I told you about 4 different ways I could write about the banner. I'm still writing about the banner, right? It's 4 different pieces of content. You could theoretically do a series in a week. So this week, I'm going to talk to you about the good, the bad, the ugly of creating a banner for your LinkedIn profile. And Monday, I talk about why you need one. Tuesday, I talk about the good. Wednesday, I talk about the bad. Thursday, I talk about where to find it. And Friday, I talk about how to post it. All the same topic, all my knowledge, all different pieces of content. Does that make sense, everyone? Does it seem simple? So I'm going to move to this next slide here. And I don't know if you can see this, but here are 2 different content maps that I did with a client. This is to show you that they're always different. If you look here on the one on the left, they started out, they had 6 things in their first how, in their first what. So they had 6 hows. But if I come over here and look at this one, in their first what, they only had 5. Everybody's process is different, but generally speaking, if you think about it, there are different steps. So I'm happy, let's just check our time here for a second. I'm happy first to take just a few minutes now and maybe walk through one person or 2 people's, one of the levels of their content map. Anybody want to volunteer?
I'm volunteering.
Okay. And your name is?
I'm Naisha.
Hi, Naisha. I'm Benita. Okay. So what do your clients come to you for?
So I run a holistic business, so they come to me for holistic products.
Okay. And now are you all product based, or are you also service based?
Just product based right now.
Okay. So they come to you for products, and when they're done working with you, what is it they get?
Well, it could be jewelry, it could be teas, it could be herbs.
So they leave with products that are meeting their desires, what they're looking to achieve, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so when somebody comes to you, there are things that they're looking at. So it might be they come to you and they want to learn about creams, okay? So you might, so do you want to tell
So
me
if
what?
it's about creams, not to give a plug for my daughter, she's a licensed esthetician, so I refer them over to her.
Okay. So are you an online store or are you a brick and mortar?
So I'm in a transitional period.
Okay.
So I do a lot of pop-up markets,
Okay,
farmers markets, things like that. I just signed a lease on an office space, so
congratulations.
I'm moving into there, and I'm building a website.
Wow. I walk into your store or your pop-up and how do you engage with me? What is the process? You know, do you ask them a question? Or are you looking for, or how do you start the engagement?
I usually let them look around. They'll usually see something that catches their eye.
Right.
So say if it's a tea or
Right.
I usually don't bring a lot of the herbs to the pop-ups because it's hard. So they might see like, oh, what's this tea about? Or
Okay,
they'll
so I come into your store, I ask you, so right, this part, and this is kind of maybe a marketing term, but it's
Yeah.
the discovery, right?
Mhm.
They're discovering your product. So your first what is discovery, okay? So you're talking to them about what it is that they're interested in learning about. Okay, after you tell me about what it is I'm inquiring about, what do you do next? Do you show me products? Do you give me information or?
I usually give you information. So if you're saying, I mean, like I have a hibiscus bliss that I sell in the summertime. Hibiscus is really good because it hydrates you in the summertime. It's a good source of vitamin
Okay,
C.
so first it's the discovery, then it's the product introduction, okay? You're introducing what the product is, right? Then after you introduce the product, do you offer them to try it? Or,
It's a little difficult at farmers markets. I mean, sometimes I'll have tea samples. So
Uh-huh.
if they sign up for my Instagram or Facebook, then I'll give them a sample of tea.
so the next thing you do is, let me just think of the best way
Yeah.
to do this.
Well, they'll
because-
usually look around.
Uh-huh.
They'll ask about other products and things like that. So that's
Uh-huh.
when it comes because I sell gemstone jewelry.
So maybe it's a little bit of research is
Okay.
next. They're exploration, product exploration. So they're, after they explore, then they come to you and say, do you have any samples of this? Or after they look at, do they come to you right away to buy?
Farmers markets, yes, because they're in and out. So it's
So then purchase next. What happens after they purchase?
I on the back of all my teas and stuff, there's actually my Instagram so they can follow me. I always tell them, give me good feedback or
So the next one is social
okay.
presence and reputation. I would put that all on one line,
Okay.
social presence and reputation. Okay. And then after they sign up, is there anything else that you do after they become a customer?
Well, I thank them. I give them a thank you card that has my information. So if they forgot anything I told them, they
So
can
follow
always,
up.
follow
Okay.
up.
Follow up. Okay. So how many, and I didn't count as I did this. It was stream of consciousness. How many steps do we have in that first one?
So I have one. Thank you.
Six. Okay. So, and again, like I said, some have more, some have less. Mine just ended up with 8. Okay. So now that was the what. Now we're going to break it down to the how. And the first how is discovery, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So we're going to talk about discovery. So I've walked up to your table, your counter, whichever place I'm at, and I'm interested about this tea. Okay, so tell me the things, just the ideas of the things that you share. So you might be sharing origin, right? Because where it came from for your jewelry, where it came from the teas, all of that is origin, right?
Mhm.
So that would be one thing that you would talk about them about, right? What else might you talk to them about?
I tell them that all my teas are all organic.
So origin, and then sustainability.
Mhm.
So write these down because these are tactical things that you can talk about. So origin, sustainability. What about, do you talk to them about, how you could use it as a gift, or how, what else would you might talk about?
So I tell them that you can use like the teas, you can drink it hot or cold. You can turn them into mocktails,
So
cocktails.
use scenarios, so how they could use it. Do you talk about emotional connection to any of them?
I could.
So maybe because we all know a buying experience, no matter what it is, there is emotion connected to it, right? I mean, there are those spontaneous buys, those ones that you toil over. This is all emotion, right? And then, you talk about the price.
I do.
Okay, pricing. Do you talk about warranties?
For the jewelry, I do. So if it like breaks, I'll repair it for free.
Okay. So, that's something that you can talk about. So I'm just going to stop here because I obviously, I'm just trying to break it down. But how many of those little things did we for the subcategories? 4 or 5?
6.
So we started with the what we came for, what they get. With the first of the what, we had 5. So that's 2 and 5, that's 7. And then we just did 6 more. So we're at 13 topics that you can write about. And you know about all of those. And by the way, if you even go a little bit more granular, when we talk about use scenarios, you might be talking about teas, or you might have creams for your daughter, and you might be talking about the creams, or you might be talking about, oh, you could wear this to a wedding, or this would be a great, so not only do you have 13, but if you think about even going further, you can break those down into even more topics.
Yeah.
And you know all about them, right? So you have a question?
I was just gonna say, is there such a thing as going too granular?
Well, I think what happens is in the beginning, you want to just have a few because it helps give you prompts. But what you will find every time you start to write content, or if you're going to do a bunch of content, you start to say, oh, well, I could talk about this. And because all of this is inbred, you learn this is your area. It becomes very natural and it becomes very easy.
I'm kind of a similar business. I do organic natural skincare products with the creams. And I was given advice from someone who might know better than me to create content based on like the benefits of every ingredient that I use. Hemp seed oil, organic hemp seed oil is my main ingredient, but I do use a lot of others. And so I'm creating.
So the what would be ingredients. And then the how would be explaining, using that, and you could do that, it could be a high level of all of my ingredients are organic and I only focus on this and that. Or it could be going to that next granular level. Hemp is one of the most valuable ingredients out there these days. It has all of these, beneficial properties. So you can go that granular, but start with your outline of all of the big things so that you can drill down to the smaller one. Now, I think I said to everybody that you can take this and have 365 days worth of content, right? And you're wondering how.
I see it.
Okay. This is about structuring your content. Now, on the back of the flyers, everybody has a copy of this, and this is just a guideline. This is just a framework that I give to get people started. You don't have to post 7 days a week. And this is fundamentally based on the concept of LinkedIn. But again, you can apply this across any of your social media tools, if you're writing blogs or anything. But the thing is that effective content creates a point of tension. If you want in content, if you were at any of my sessions yesterday, you want content that's going to generate conversations, getting people to comment on your content. That is the most valuable thing that you can get if you're doing social media. It creates an opportunity for you to have a conversation that people get to the point where they think that they know you because you're exchanging conversations and engagement on social platforms. So everything that you write, you want to think of how, and it won't be everything, but for the most part, you want to think about how you can create a point of tension. I'm going to use an example, and then I'm going to kind of talk through these very quickly. I'm making sure I want to give us time for questions. So I once saw a post on LinkedIn, and it was a poll. Do you like crunchy or creamy peanut butter? Anybody have an opinion about that? Exactly. Right? Yeah. So it created a point of tension for me, but it created 2 points of tension for me because not only did I think, well, this is the most absurd, of course, I like creamy peanut butter, but I also thought this is the most absurd post on LinkedIn. I'm old school. I use that platform in a professional way. So what did I do? I wrote a post about crunchy and creamy peanut butter. And I wrote about how it incensed me. Like, why would they be posting this on LinkedIn? And then I went in to explain why you shouldn't use that on LinkedIn. So not only did I create a point of tension coming back to the premium crunchy peanut butter, but I created a point of tension by saying, this is not what you do. Now, I'm pretty sure there were people who agreed with me and people who didn't agree with me. And guess what? People commented on that. Because depending on what school of thought you're in, you had a point of view. So the fact of the matter is, every single person that you touch when it comes to social networking has a point of view. So when we think about how to engage and create some kind of conversation, I use these as standard guidelines. Now, you don't have to use them on the days of the weeks that I have them here. They're just examples. When I'm teaching on LinkedIn, I say Wednesday should always be Wednesday because it's the most active day on LinkedIn. So you want to do the things that are most tension ridden on Wednesdays. But on Monday, you can ask for help. Maybe you're writing a blog and you want some insights. And by the way, I hate to break it to you, you don't have to be honest. Maybe you are writing a blog, but you want to share something about hemp. And so you say, I'm writing a blog about hemp and I'm curious, I want to add some consumer insights. Do you associate hemp with cannabis? Okay. Now, you incited some interesting because there are going to be people who have different points of view about that, right? And you engage them in a way to ask them for help. Most of us, generally speaking, want to be helpful. And so they're going to jump in and they're going to have a point of view and respond. Get that comment because then you can respond. And now you've created a dialogue that you could eventually move off the platform. On Tuesday, it's okay to demonstrate your expertise. So maybe you're going to talk about, mine is a perfect example, even though it was a conflict-ridden post. But when we think about the peanut butter, I went on to talk about why you don't do this. I was demonstrating my expertise, but wrapping it into a post that created conflict. Wednesday, day, complaint day. Now, I don't think you should say it is complaint, but every single one of us in this room has been annoyed by something a client has done, right? You can write something about that in a way that will incite curiosity, will get people to react. And Wednesday on LinkedIn is the most active day. So it could be like, I've been feeling so frustrated. I've been working on this project and I'm struggling with the outcomes. And maybe you talk about that, or have you ever been annoyed about? You're going to stop and read that post, right? Because you want to know what this person's been annoyed about, right? So Wednesday is usually for me the most tension ridden, but again, it elicits a response. Thursdays, I love what I do. I might bring up a success story. Have you ever had the same experience? Things like that. Friday, generally speaking, across most social platforms, unless you're doing a TikTok and you're targeting a younger audience who's looking to go out, Fridays tends to be a slow down, kind of a drop off day on social media, particularly on LinkedIn. So I always do a soft thing. I usually do a tip or something about the holiday or something just mindful, but something that will create interest. It might be the picture I use creates that point of tension. Curious tension. We go back and you look at the big juicy hamburger. If I had done a post something on that day about what does this have to do with creating content, and then I talk about it, that picture of that hamburger is probably going to get somebody to stop and look. especially if I post it around lunchtime, right? And then the weekend, some people suggest that you post 7 days a week. I don't necessarily believe that you need to post 7 days a week. When you're just starting out doing content, if you can work that muscle, great. And then you can pare it down. But these are cues. So, and if you think about it, if you go back to your content map and you pull out one topic, you can probably write about that topic these different ways, right? So now you've got your 50 content ideas, and you've got 7 ways to write them, and you have
More to do.
yeah. Not that yep.
I add that a lot of this are really good prompts for AI.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So,
Let's see.
for a lot of people who are struggling with how to get that content going, you can put into an AI, a chat GPT, and say, please write a social media post for, and you can say, even go Facebook because it has an understanding of how to do it, on this topic, include a point of tension, whatever. Or you can put it in there and say, write a social post and cues to create a reel, and it will and captions. It will give you the post. It will give you the visuals that you should use and captions. So it can go very quickly. So
AI is our friend.
yes, don't be afraid of it. I mean, it's not gonna put me out of business. But in my opinion, some people are going to go to AI and not come to me, and other people will come to me and not go to AI. So, there's enough out there for everybody. So here, just really quickly, I didn't take the time to introduce myself fully in the beginning because I wanted to make sure that we got through the content, but I'm Benita Samuels, and I am the founder and Chief Visibility Officer of the Visibility Solutions Group. We are an organization of professionals who have category interests and expertise across different topics. The 3 areas that we tend to focus on is visibility impact, and that's where are you online and in the digital landscape? Are you showing up in the right places? Are you using things like Google My Business? And we work with businesses to help them understand where they need to be online and the strategies they can use to elevate that. I'm also, as I said, a LinkedIn subject matter expert. I'm very proud to say that I was selected as one of Denver's top 15 LinkedIn experts this year. I've been featured in Forbes. I think I gave everybody a little flyer of my articles, and I do have a 5-star rating on Google. I help people learn how to leverage LinkedIn so they can move those connections into conversations. And then, of course, I do consulting, things that you want to know about the digital and social landscapes, how to open those digital doors to get to your clients. I have been practicing for more than 30 years. I started my career in New York City working on the brand new campaign for New York. You may have all heard of it. I Love New York. And brands all across the world. And now I do this helping small business owners, solopreneurs, and corporate executive teams to enhance their social and digital presence. So that's me. If you want to get a hold of me, here are my contacts. The best way to reach me is always LinkedIn. That's my first place and foremost. And I always accept your invitation, and I will definitely respond to your messages. Also, I gave each of you, I hope, a little card. If you're interested in talking to me or learning more, please feel free to write your name on the back of the card and give it to me, and I will reach out to you as well. Did everybody get their little clicker here? No. On their little clicker? This is, and if it doesn't work, check the battery, because I've had some that the battery doesn't work, but this is a remote clicker. So if I have that with me, I could stand in front of this and take a picture of me behind me, but I don't have mine with me. So I'm going to ask Tess to please take a picture. I'm going to have you take one of me in front, maybe from the back of the room. And then I'm going to turn around and everybody else is going to say hello. We're going to take a picture if that's okay. Okay? Okay. And now let's come up here and take a picture of me with everybody. How's that? Does anybody have any questions as we're doing this quick picture?
Maybe you already discussed this, but can you talk a little bit about moving the digital space into actual clients? Because I think people put a lot of energy into social media, and to make it worth it, there has to be like money at the end of it. So,
right. So yesterday I did a talk on the strategies for using LinkedIn and how to leverage the algorithms and conversations. And the reality is the thing that you want to think about is, I call it the 3-touch method. People believe they know you because they see you on social media. How many people know Kim Kardashian? Every single one of us thinks we know Kim Kardashian, even if you don't want to admit it. Well, we don't. Know her from all of these. Geez, and the reality is that if you touch somebody 3 times on a social platform, it is an open invitation to extend a conversation to them. So if you are on LinkedIn and you start with, there's somebody that you're interested in that you want to have a conversation with, firstly, ring their bell. On their profile, there's a little bell up on the top, ring their bell. So you get notified every time that they do something or engage on LinkedIn. Every time they engage, mimic their activity. If they like, you like. If they post, you comment. Once you engaged with them 3 times, that you've already begun to build a relationship. It's a false sense of relationship, but people think they know you. At that point, you can move them into the chat and say, hey, Benita, I've been, following your content and enjoying what you're doing. Would you be open to having a one-on-one conversation with me? It's not a sales pitch. It's just an open invitation. On LinkedIn, following a method that I teach, if you do that, 6 out of 10 people that you move into the chat will say yes to you, that they want to have a conversation. So that's the best way, in my recommendation. It's not the cold pitching. It's not the cold calling. It is building a relationship through contact and engagement. Sarah?
Yeah, are you talking about how many posts you posted 3 times, or that you responding to their message?
If I wanted to talk to you, I would react to your content. I would, generally speaking, comments are gold, So I would engage with your content because because you're paying attention, you're going to say, whoa, this person, Benita, keeps liking my stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you get a message from Benita saying, hey, I really like your stuff. Maybe you want to, would you be open to talking to me? Would you talk to me? Yeah, right?
What's your suggestion when we need to do this at a little bit larger scale of how much time commitment does that take, and how do you keep it kind of authentic like that?
So for me, and I've been doing it a long time, so I can do this on the fly. But if you want to think on a bigger scale, I say leverage the tools like ChatGPT. Put in and say, put in your one topic and you say, write 5 posts. You go in, you make your edits. Don't publish it exactly as is. Find your images, your video.
Oh, I mean that engagement.
Well, it depends on the person if they're active on the platform. Mm-hmm. I find, if you are consistent on a platform and you have a presence on the platform and the algorithms are working to your advantage, it's just a few weeks. If you're just building a relationship with the platform, I say you got to give yourself at least 6 weeks of consistency, because we know everything we desire is on the other side of consistency. Let me say that again. I want to make sure that we're being conscious of time. Okay. Tamara?
So I have a few questions, but do you recommend posting on your personal profile, business profile? Can you share from a business profile?
So firstly, people do business with people. Mm-hmm. That's the first place you start. So always create your personal profile. But if you're a business owner, you should definitely have a business profile. And the rule of thumb is that 80-20, we've all heard it, 80% of your content should be on your personal profile, written from a personal perspective, and 20% is on your business profile. So I always say, if you are promoting a new product, or if you are giving a tip about the things that you teach, or if you are going to be speaking somewhere, anything that is really business oriented in the sense of selling your product and your services goes on your business page. You can share them to your personal page. And when you do that, you then put a personal piece of commentary in there. You don't just share it blind. So 80%, I had a conversation with a client recently, or I came across this great article, or, I'm in a community of people, things that resonate on a personal level. LinkedIn is about networking. It's not about sales.
That was actually my question. You had said yesterday that LinkedIn is more effective than Facebook, Instagram, I think.
So for those who weren't there, what I shared, and I love that you caught that, is LinkedIn drives more traffic to your website than Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, formerly Twitter, combined. So you want me to say that again? More than Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter combined. People go to your LinkedIn page before they go to your website. If they're searching, Google sends 46% of traffic to LinkedIn before it sends to your website, unless you're paying for SEO. So, and then.
How does that work with different ages? Because I know like my age group, like I'm right between like I know I probably have a LinkedIn profile, and that was probably the last time I said you did.
So what business are you in? Let me ask you that.
Fashion, facial stuff like that, but I'm mostly focused on my age.
Right. So my recommendation, and every social platform is not right for every business. I always say you should have a LinkedIn profile because people are looking at you and checking you out. And by the way, everybody on LinkedIn is also a consumer. But I would probably say for you is I would probably spend more time on Instagram or TikTok because you're going to get a greater bang for your buck. Interestingly, though, just so you know, the demographics on LinkedIn has shifted in the end, November 20, I'm getting confused. I think it was 21. It moved from boomers and Xers, me, to millennials. Makes sense. We're aging out of the working population and that those interests. So the millennials have taken over. So pay attention to where your audience is moving, but start where your audience is at. And did you have one question as well? I think we're wrapping up here in time.
Yeah, because I guess we can get referrals through LinkedIn, but does it kind of depend on your business? Or when you say that people go to your LinkedIn, does that mean even public people who are looking for, I'm an attorney, so if you're looking for an attorney.
So they may have heard about you.
Yeah.
They'll go to LinkedIn before they go to your website.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you weren't on my sessions earlier yesterday, one quick tip, if you don't have a Google My Business page, get one set up. Highly valuable in the algorithms and search value.
Can I just mention, you were talking about those some processes and steps. One of the things that is important for me, because I sell spices and sauces, that is not what's in it, but what's not. And people are really compelled about the dirty part of food. They really want to know, first of all, if they'll buy spices from the dollar store. Don't buy any food in the dollar store.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like a traffic accident. People are like, really?
Well, that's the point of tension.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful point of tension. Yeah. It's also educational. It's also, you could be funny about it. It can also, I think that's a great approach.
Rat cards are I told you that's what I
Did I see a question?
Thing. I've heard to like kind of post constantly and that it can take like
so
what would you say about that?
So you mean posting on Google or posting in social?
I mean on the Google or the Google your business.
So Google your business, you can do posts like you do in social media. My general rule of thumb is every other week. And I use it as a source to repurpose content and drive traffic. So if you put a blog on your website, this is the easiest one to explain. If you do a blog on your website, you post your blog today on your website. Next week, you post it on Google because now Google's reading a second. It's bumped up in the search because it's got a second place. Then the next week, I post it as an article on LinkedIn. And then, or the next week, maybe I do it as a post on LinkedIn, and the following week I do it as an article. So I use that as a way to extend the value of your content and create the search engine, the crawlers to see the content over and over again. And in some cases, Interestingly, Google does not read LinkedIn articles as duplicative copy as a blog. I don't know why. They will catch up to it, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the way it's embedded. So you get value from both.
I was just gonna interject, remember your keywords.
Yes. And by the way, use ChatGPT if you don't know keywords. Type in, say, what are the top keywords for this topic? Well, thank you, everybody. I totally enjoyed sharing with you. I hope this is valuable.